Details.
Sometimes it's operator error.
Yep. Thank you. Thank you. Some of them don't have as many as prior years. Judith only has one. So we're good. Let's go. I might just work.
Good morning to everyone. We are going to call this meeting to order. This is day 2 of our budget presentations and decision-making with regard to the Corporate Services Committee meeting. We will start off with the, does anyone on the committee need to make known a direct or indirect pecuniary interest? Hanson.
I'd like to declare a pecuniary interest on the Coldwater BIA and the Equinox Drummers. I'm a member of the Coldwater BIA and I have a family member that is involved with the Equinox Drummers.
Yes, Member Taylor?
Yeah, through the chair, I have a conflict F6 grant for the Matchash Community Heritage Center. I'm a volunteer in the board there. And also F6 grants for the Quarter Mill Foundation, as I too am a volunteer in the board there as well. Thank you.
And Member Cox?
Excuse me. I'm on the Washago Events Committee, a volunteer F.6, and I have a pecuniary interest.
Member Burkett?
Thank you through the chair. F6 as well, the grants. I'm a Lions member in Washago.
That is all of them.
No, sorry, I have my card up.
I have interest in F6. I'm on the Washago as a volunteer.
And Member Minnings?
Thank you. F6 as well. I'm a member on the West Shore Events Committee and also the new Severn Seniors grant applications.
And, oh. Yes, Member Cox.
Through the chair, Wanda, you're on the Washago Events Committee.
She said that.
She said,
Yes. Thank you. I'll add the Washago Events Committee. Appreciate it, Judith.
okay.
All right, having gone that round, I'll just add something here. I don't need to do this, but I'm going to say it in the interest of transparency. There is an item under the budgets there for Otis Park. For reasons of my own, I'll stay away from main discussions on that. But as a appointed board member for council, I do not declare a pecuniary interest. That's it. We're ready for the next page. We have no delegation.
Your microphone's off. Your microphone's off.
No delegations, no consent agenda. I will ask for a motion for adoption of the regular agenda, please.
Motion reads that the agenda be adopted as circulated.
And that is moved by Member McIntyre, secondary by Member Taylor. All in favor? We'll move on then, and I will, I'm going to ask Mr. Plunkett to take us to the next step, but I had a quick conversation with our clerk on the matter of a preamble for these grants that we'll be talking about today. And do you wish to do that now? All right, would you proceed with that?
Thank you very much. So the grants are before you. We have a good number of them this year, which is lovely to see. But as council has noted in their budget earlier, we have far more requests than we have funding for it this year. To that effect, just a quick review of the policy. So for general program grants, the maximum grant allotted could be 1,500. Festival and event grant is 5,000. The policy says that will decline by 25% every year. And the organizers are required to recognize the township's contribution on any of their promotional material or event day materials, such as the logo, etc. Capital funding beautification, so it's only 50% funding, up to $10,000. Minimum 3 quotes that have to be provided. Do note the exclusions, so we do not provide grants for school athletic or private group trips, expenses or endeavors, team uniforms, memorials, fundraising events, political, religious, or faith organizations, and local rape organizations if the grant is to be used for the sole benefit of organizations' private members. So just a caveat on that. So that's a quick close notes version of the grants policy going into the discussion today. And I will put the spreadsheet up on the screen so the council can see those discussions as they go along.
All right. Does anyone have any questions pertaining to what has just been said? Yes, member Minnings?
Thank you. Through the chair, to Allison, I reviewed the policy too, and under capital grants, our policy states that a final report is required. And with general program grants, it's on the form that applicants are required to provide information on their use of the money the previous year. But I'm wondering if the township, if you've cleared that criteria, that final reports, you have them in hand, or if not, because it's not indicated in the budget package. Thank you.
So you'll notice in general terms, through you, Mr. Chair, that on most of the grant applications, it asks them how they use the funds if they received funding the prior year. So it says, did you receive funding last year? Yes or no? How much did you receive and how did you spend it? So for the bulk of our program grants, the reporting requirement is very informal. These are community groups. One thing that I've encountered over the years is that the more formal you make this, it actually acts as a deterrent for people applying for grants. Not necessarily in a bad way, but it's just sometimes people have a habit of making reporting requirements that are quite extensive rather than simple for community groups to submit. So we went the way of, did you receive funding? How much money did you receive? And just detailing the general use of how those were spent. So you'll notice that is actually a section on the grant applications. So in general terms, all the ones that have applied for this year have submitted the required reports.
Thank you. And just subsequent that in the capital improvement and beautification grant policy, number 3.3D says that a report must be submitted accounting as to how the grants were spent. So just confirming that you've received those for capital improvement and beautification grants. Thank you.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. So we only have one returning capital grant application. So that is from the Coldwater BIA. And we have their detailed finances in-house, so we know how they've spent their funds.
Thank you. Question from member Jens.
Thank you. And through the chair, I'm just wondering the process of how we're going to go through the grant requests. If we go by the spreadsheet, it's not in the same order as the list in the books or the sheets that are in the book that we received. So I guess my question is, are we going to follow this list on the chart, or should we go by the grant request as they're in order of our booklet?
I'm going to defer this question to Mr. Plunkett then, and just wanted to say one thing here. So we will be doing one motion at the end of the discussions for this. That's the one part that I want to get through, but I'll leave that now to Mr. Plunkett.
Just if I can, through to the chair. It's likely best that we just go in order that they are in the book. We can adjust, I mean, we can add them. They're alphabetic order on this, on the spreadsheet. So
Yes. All right. Yeah, it's a good idea. Moving then to page 123. And the first application there, the Coldwater Village BIA. Discussion.
The one thing I will note is that we will be doing the festival. So these are broken up. If you look at the screen, we have general program grants and capital that we deal with first, and then festival and grants are second. So we'll deal with, it will mean that you are going to jump around a bit because of the festival things in your book. But we will deal with the festival event one secondary, and we'll deal with the general program grants and the one capital one first.
No discussion? Oh,
So last year they got winter hanging baskets. Okay, so this year they're asking for archways and magnetic display signs. Okay. And they're asked, sorry, 4,500. Okay, thank you. Just
Yeah, just a reminder, last year they didn't get winter hanging baskets because council felt that they have a levy and it should come through there. So I'm pretty sure they didn't get any of these grants. That's why they're at zero. They asked for them, but they didn't get them.
clarifying that. All right.
Through you, Mr. Chair, you'll notice up on the screen that there's a 2023 approved and 2024 approved and 2025 requested at the top.
Oh, yeah.
So you can very clearly see what was requested last year. If in what was approved and what's in the requested column. So as we go, I will add the number into the approved column on the right.
thank you. No further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I need a decision on each one as we go.
Yeah.
So I need
All right.
council to advise whether or not it's going to be 0, 1,000, 500, all the way through every group.
Yeah, okay. I think we also have to keep in mind that the BIA has asked for other funding. So we have to decide, are we going to do a big one here? What are we going to do? Because we have to look at it that way.
Member Taylor.
Respectively, I would put 0 for now. And then move on.
Okay. Member Minnings. We're not hearing you.
No, I'm just looking for my mute button there. Thank you. Okay, yeah, with the winter hanging baskets for the capital amount, I would also like to see 0 at this time. The application that's in the budget package states that they received $1,000 last year for their grant, but I don't see this listed on the form.
So through you, Mr. Chair, so the BIA did not receive funding for the hanging baskets last year. They received some money towards the witchcraft wizarding event under festivals and such. So, they did not receive funding towards the hanging baskets last year. They received it 2 years ago. I don't know if council remembers that a separate request came forward outside of the regular grant submission process for the hanging baskets in 2022. But going into that 2023, 2024 winter, they did not receive a grant for the hanging baskets.
Yes,
Just
Member Burkett?
through the chair. Do you know where they they did these just some clarity as to if we gave them $1,000 2 years ago for some hanging baskets, I'm okay. Well, they've got hanging baskets, winter hanging baskets.
So on the ask, it says they're looking for our arches are with some newer and better advertising, which is not, it just makes them look nicer. These signs are going to be magnetic, and then you change Easter and then you can put the other one up. And then they're also asking for new lights, which I think they've already got. So that's out. So I would suggest we give them $1,000.
All right, yeah.
But they already have a separate application for lighting.
I'm happy to give 1,000 as well.
Okay, so, yes, member Taylor.
No, I agree. After looking, so I know that the archways are, it's all manual and this, yeah, and there's, I think, 4 archways or, so that's a good start. I agree.
Member Mennings, did you have a question or comment?
Yeah, sorry. I would just then like to see that the application be amended and this chart to not read winter hanging baskets, but read the capital request, which is the sign, the metal or the magnetic signs. Is that possible to have them do? Sorry, were you able to hear my question?
All right,
Yep.
just waiting for a response.
Thank you. Okay, thanks.
All right, so they are changing to archway improvements then. All right, and we have a question from member McIntyre.
Thank you to the chair. I'll agree on the $1,000 as the other members have indicated.
Yeah, so it seems we may even have a consensus on the $1,000 here. All right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh, thank you. Okay. All right, so we're moving on to page 125. 125? You want to do that now?
I would suggest we save all the festivals and grants to be considered
Okay.
at the same time.
Mark these separately. Uh.
Might I suggest we move to the Equinox drummers, which is the other item that Counselor Jansen had a declaration on? Then he's back in for the duration of the grants.
And what page is that? Equinox Drummers. This is confusing. Okay,
Just a note to council, next year we'll do an index on the front of this, so council has a corresponding numbered package with every application. If I can, because I can pull it up pretty quick on the website because they're listed individually on the website. They're requesting $1,000 and it says the money would go towards materials for the drumming group. This may include materials to make drumming skirts, shirts, materials to make shakers, new drums, etc.
it is on page 176. Thank you. Yes, Madam CEO.
Thank you. I hate to be the Grinch, but I would suggest to the committee that this one barely qualifies. I might rule it out under team uniforms and apparel that is not allowed. I'm sure it's a great cause, but if you approve it, you're going to get every gymnastics group, baseball team. It's not really what you intended. You were looking at, I think you meant to do more service groups that were doing a wider reach.
And any other? Yes.
Through the chair, and thank you, Madam CEO, for those comments. If we go down this path, as much as we'd like to give money to everyone, I can't agree with what they are asking for. Like next year we'll have $200,000, and how do we say no to everyone once we go down this path?
Fair enough. Member Taylor.
Yeah, I have seen this group. They practice in the Legion, I think, upstairs, and it's a worthy cause, and I guess we can't do every cause. So I'm sorry.
All right. Member Minnings.
Thank you, and I would agree with the CEO's comments, but only in my notes from the fact that last year grant application that included purchasing guitars and guitar in the park for youth, and that grant was declined.
Thank you. All right. All right. So we can move on. Then there'll be no award for that particular application. And what page are we going to next? Need a minute here to get our ducks in order here. Oh, Andrews, we're just sorting it through. I'm totally thrown off.
Speak. Excuse me.
Yes, Member Cox.
Could we? I think it's working that if we go down the list, that it's better. And then if we have any questions, we can look it up, because I think we're spending, like, some of these
Yeah.
are just automatic. We know or we don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
I assure you that'll really help the chair a lot. All right. Going off the list on page 120. In alphabetical order.
In alphabetical orders.
All right. And the first one up is the Artray Nature request for 120. And Member Cox.
I'm fine with that.
Do we have any other comments on that? Going once, going twice, we seem to be fine with the first entry. Big Brothers, Big Sisters of Aurelian District. They didn't request?
No request, so you'll see a blank where someone, because we want to show who applied last year still, so you get an idea whether or not folks are dropping off or just didn't reapply.
Fair
So you'll see they applied last year and were approved last year, but they did not
And-
apply this year.
That's right. So no decisions required there. The Born to Read campaign in 2024, 500, they're asking for that to be doubled this year. And Member Cox.
Yeah, through the chair. We gave them 500 last year, and the year before we gave them less, but the whole crux of it was that it was through for the Aurelia Library, and now the Severn Library is involved. So Severn children do get this, and it is through our library. So our library helps give out books and gives books and things. So I'd be good with the 500 again. I'd love 1,000, but it's a tight year.
And Member Taylor agrees. Any other comments? We seem to have general agreement on 500. Coldwater BIA lighting. That's just an entry. We're good there. Yes. Coldwater BIA general program.
Nothing.
Last year, no application. This year, 1,500.
Okay.
So
We
we
can
have
do that one.
All right. And
Sorry, I think we did the 4,500
Yeah.
and we gave 1,000. We haven't addressed the 1,500. It's a different grant. Yeah, Allison's looking it up for you.
Oh.
Member, no?
So this is for programming. So I'm going from the online agenda, so.
Andrew and I are looking.
So I'll just read it to you. How do you spend the money? So we hope to continue to offer local student opportunities to share with the Coldwater Heritage Mill. We hope to continue to expand our community programs as well.
That's
No,
not
that's the
it.
mill.
That's the
Apologies.
mill.
There we are. Wrong one. It was right below it. Coldwater, Severn community members have requested events to acknowledge Truth and Reconciliation as well as Canada Day event. This money will be spent on printed materials, t-shirts, advertising, media consultation from the Indigenous communities.
That's an event.
They applied for it under general programming. Page 170. Took me a moment, but.
One, 7, 0. And do we have? Yes. Member Cox. Okay. Member Taylor.
Yeah, I can't support this one. I think there's a couple more coming up for the VA that I would, but not this one.
Further comments from any members? Nope. All right. Seems like a decision is not to support that particular entry. Okay, the hanging baskets we just dealt. What about the 500 to follow that?
Oh.
All right.
So now we're moving to the Coldwater District Agricultural Society.
Coldwater and District Agricultural Society. We have formerly or in 24 $500. This year, the request is the same. Comments, questions? Member Taylor.
I'd support 500.
That's 2, 3 for support.
I'm in agreement.
Do you have any comment? No? All right. There seems to be a general acceptance that we maintain the $500. Coldwater. Okay. On to the Coldwater and District Curling Club. Oh, yes, you have a comment?
I would suggest that this is similar to the drummer one you just looked at. They're looking for grippers, which is apparel, which doesn't fit. And it's also a private club, so it's not typically open for all of Severn residents, although they be welcome to join, but it's not really fitting within our grant criteria.
All right. So it does not qualify. We can move on to the next entry. Coldwater Legion branch 270. Coldwater Mill Heritage Foundation planning. 1,500 last year. They are making a request for the same amount this year. Member Cox.
I'm in favor of this one. They work hard and they work with all the community and all our other service clubs.
Any other comment?
They don't have any other funding but fundraising.
Yes, Member Jensen.
Thank you. And through the chair, reading what the mill put in, it's specifically for their Friday night programming. They've been having live bands there for a series of Friday nights throughout the summer and fall. These events are well attended by members of the community, and it offers something for people in the community of Coldwater to do for free on a Friday evening. I think this is very beneficial to our community. It's arts and culture, and we should approve the $1,500.
Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, I noticed that they have not applied for the the other one that they asked for 500 last year for the beautification. I would support the 1,500.
All right, I think we have a general consensus here that we support the 500. The beautification, or, oh, sorry, 1,500, wrong line here. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so allow member, we have a question from member Cox.
Next year, if they don't apply, could you please not put them in here? Thank you. I think it's confusing for people. Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to Coldwater Shuffleboard, first time application. And we have yes, from Madam CEO.
I feel a little bit like the Grinch, but I also feel that it's like the others. It doesn't really apply. They're looking for equipment not widely used by the townships. Just providing my advice.
Any other comments? Then we will move on. We will disallow that one. We've already discussed the Equinox drummers. Georgian Bay Forever would be the next entry, if my eyes are dealing with this properly. And Georgian Bay Forever had requested and approved for 2,500 last year. They are requesting to double that to 5,000.
They came to council as a delegation about a month ago to go over all the Phragmites removal that they do.
It's that application is on.
Through you, it's not an application because they came as an actual deputation to council and was referred to budget.
All right. Yeah, member Cox.
I'll let member Taylor speak to that because he's with the SSEA.
Yeah, this is a very good group that works in conjunction with SSCA, and they've done a lot of work on Match Dash Bay. That's in our township, and whether we give them the 5,000, but we gave them 2,500, I'd be, make it 3,500 or something for this year. But we should, they do a really good job. So I would recommend 3,500.
Member Burkett.
Happy to support that through the chair.
All right, so we have at least three. Oh, we have a comment. Oh, Madam CEO? Yes, go ahead.
Sorry, yes, no Grinching here. It's a worthy cause. I was just going to say next year, I think we'll pull that out and put it in the ECDEV because it really doesn't fit in your grant criteria. So we should put it where we put the other specialized things. So just a note for Andrew for future. I think it doesn't fit within the parameters of the grant program, but they did come and do a delegation and fits with your economic development piece.
Thank you. All right. It would appear we have a general consensus to go to 3,500. I am not seeing any opposition to that, so we will go with 3,500. Hampshire Mills. Thank you very much. All right, we're going down to Hampshire, the Hampshire Mills application. And it is for 250, the same as was approved last year. And member Cox.
I'm in favor of this one. These ladies are Women's Institute. They're probably one of the last active Women's Institute, and they do a lot for the community. They do meals, they do some programming. I know what it says in there, and for $250, I'm in for them. Thank you.
Member Minnings.
Hi, thank you through the chair. I too support this one. However, in reading the grant application, there really isn't enough there to go on. It seems from what I read that they get the money and then they donate the money out. So I'd like to know a little more detail on the great things they do. And they've been getting this historically, it seems, this 250, but I'm really not clear on how the money's spent, but I do support it this year.
All right, so, yeah, Member Jansen.
Through the chair, could we please find out what page number that one is?
Handwritten.
It's on 178. I'm going through and trying to write down the page number.
I believe we're moving on to the Aurelia Fish and Game Conservation Club if there was consensus on the Women's Institute.
Yeah, so I think, I mean, all we can do is make our decision based, oh, sorry, Member Burkett. Oh, yeah, so for the last one, I think we agree, we're operating on historical knowledge at best, but it's 250 and we'll move forward. Aurelia Fish and Game Club, and they have been approved the last year for 500. They're asking for that to go to 1,500, and Member Burkett will.
Thank you through the chair. I think we'll just leave it at 500 if council's okay. I know it's not in our township, but everyone's welcome to use the facility. It's a great educational piece for all our kids, a wonderful facility for everyone to learn about nature and how to protect it.
Yeah, I would just take, yes, Madam CEO.
No, I want to be not Grinch. I wanted to propose that you perhaps think about 750 just because they came out in force at the Hawk Ridge open house and they're going to be your allies, I'm quite sure. So you might want to recognize their efforts. Just a thought.
Madam CEO, you did beat me to the punch on that one. And not only that, I have engaged with some of them with regard to the impacts of the development just south of here. They are very active. They've done a lot of work in Severn Township to save brook trout. And I mean a lot of money and a lot of work, and they may be outside of here, but they definitely operate in our area.
Okay.
Member McIntyre.
Thank you through the chair. I think Tom Taylor and that group were amazing. They're going to be a huge asset to us when we get to the golf course development. So I would be in favor of 750 as well.
There are no further comments, then we will go at 750 for that application. On to the Mashadash Heritage Center. Previously were approved for 1,500 and are requesting the same. Yes, Member Cox.
I'm in favor of this one. That hall is all Ward 1 has, and it is used quite a bit. I know a lot of people, I think they used to have the karate there. I'm not sure, but anyway, it's used a lot, and it's a very nice spot. And they do different cultural events. They have different dinners. So I totally think that 1,500 is good for this. And once again, run by volunteers.
Echo the same response as Member Cox.
All right, and Member Jansen is also expressing the same sentiment. All right, so we will go forward. Yes, Member Minnings.
Thank you through the chair. I do support this, but I know I asked a question about the Machadash Community Center. Can you clarify for me if it's the same building?
Apparently, it is the same building.
Okay, so we're already paying their expenses, correct? So I'm just wondering then what the $1,500 is going for. And I know that they hold a lot of events there, and that's great, and we want that to keep going. I just need a better understanding of what the $1,500 is going for over and above the expenses.
So the application is on page 181. CEO, would you have a comment?
I would. What you saw yesterday in the budget was their base expenses, insurance. I can't remember what else is in it, remembering that it's our building. So we have to pay the basic costs for it. The benefit we get from them is their volunteers. So if we had to pay staff to run it or program it, it would cost significantly more than the 1,500 that they're asking. So we're very grateful that they managed that hall. At some point, that hall, like any other hall, will come back to the municipality, I'm sure, because volunteers get older and tired and they just eventually all come back. You will spend way more money when that happens. So it's great to support them as long as they're willing to do the work on your behalf.
Yeah, so I was just wondering what the 1,500 was for, and maybe if I'm reading their application for the grant correctly, they would normally charge rental costs for groups to come in and use it, and what they're asking for is those rental costs be augmented for certain groups. So then they're not getting a revenue, is that correct?
So through you, Mr. Chair, all I can do is speak to what's in the application. So it's very straightforward. It says so how they use it last year. So I expect that their use this year will be similar to last year. So they'll continue augmenting the costs for karate programs, reunions, family gatherings, and supporting associations that use the facility. So intended to supplement the use by general larger groups.
No, and that's fair enough. I was just trying to understand what the money was for.
All right. So I think we have generally agreement then to award again the same as last year at 1,500. All right. Yeah, sorry. River House Restaurant.
Okay. Sorry. Mark.
Madam CAO, you have a comment?
Yeah.
I'll
I
wait
gotta get-
till Councillor Taylor comes back.
I'm
What
gonna-
page is it?
I gotta grab a ruler.
Use this.
Well, that's a good idea. Madam CEO.
Yeah, if I may, I think I provided the same advice last year and you ignored me, which is perfectly within your rights to do. I have some challenges granting tax money to a private business. I'm sure they do great work, that the parade ends at their business and it's a way to get people to their business, and it makes me uncomfortable. Council chose to give it anyways, and you're welcome to continue to do that, but I continue to raise my concern.
Thank you. Member Taylor.
I would support it. We give very little to that area and it's well attended. I think goes a long way. I would support $300.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair, and thank you, Madam CEO. Your thoughts are well taken, and I will support Member Taylor only because I've attended it. The $300 we give is very little compared to the amount of food that is provided. And I know it ends at the River House, but they do probably double what we give them with the amount of people that are there. It's well attended. And there's nothing in that community in Severn Falls for a year end. Thank you. It's nice.
Member. Yes, Member CEO.
Just one
Or-
more tidbit, they don't get a road occupancy permit or insurance like the other parades do. They hold it informally without going through proper channels. And the road occupancy insurance would cost more than the $300. So
Member Minnings.
Thank you. I also support this. We ran a parade in Cumberland Beach 3 years prior without a road occupancy permit, and wasn't aware of that at the time before I was on council. This year we have all of that. But to the point about where the parade ends, in communities like the one in Severn, bridge there, Severn Falls, and places like Cumberland Beach that don't have a community center or designated main street. It's really, really important to have an end place for these parades, and I'm grateful to Hope Community Church for ours, and also to the Riverside Restaurant for theirs.
Thank you. Oh, member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair. I think, and thank you again, Madam CEO. I don't want to argue, but I think Severn Falls is a little different because they're not really blocking the road. All they're doing is doing a big circle and they're leaving. There's no blockage of the road. I know there may be, I don't know, I'll let Councillor remember.
Yeah, they actually, the parade itself is on Upper Big Shoot Road. And it comes around and swings onto Earl Haid. And then it dissipates, comes down to the water and turns right, goes back onto Upper Big Shoot Road. So I think we're making a mountain out of a molehill here.
Member Cox.
Just going to tell you that the fire trucks won't be coming. They don't come to parades where there's no insurance.
And they weren't at the last one.
No, I know, but that's probably why. I don't have a problem with it this year, but I think we can reorganize it funding wise next year. So I'll agree for this year only. Not really though. I worry about that liability on that road.
I'm gonna throw my 2 cents in and say I'm a little concerned. I would say no to this myself. So we're gonna need a vote. Member McIntyre?
Through the chair, maybe it's a one-off this year and maybe a little more information for next year with insurance and so on. But the fact that it ends up at the River House and there's gifts for children and food supply, it's short notice, but I would support this one.
Member Burkett?
Sorry, through the chair, and I want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So what would the liability insurance be? How much would it be okay, go ahead.
To get insurance through a nonprofit for the Washago Events Committee, for the BIA, for the Lions Club, the insurance is between $400 and $500.
Supplementary, if I may, they would also have to get permission from the county if they're coming up a county road.
You would have to go for a road permit through the county, not us.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a suggestion.
Member Cox?
Is there, okay, I'm going to be honest. Is there a possibility that this parade could be run through a nonprofit group?
Like maybe the Matchadash Heritage Center.
So, yeah, Member Burkett?
Through the chair, I think to Madam CEO's comments, if something does happen and we all know that they're liable, I think now we've opened up an area where we need to have a little more information. So maybe we forgive the insurance. I don't know. Like, is there something that we can do? And we probably won't get an answer now. We can come back with an answer, but moving forward, because if they're going to sell this and the new owners continue, we need to have a policy so they just don't assume that they can just have a parade without any insurance.
Thank you. Member Cox?
Okay, why don't we just put this in abeyance and don't spend all the grant money and leave $500 for this type of Christmas activity in Ward 1 and come up with a better solution that qualifies everything we're concerned about.
Further comments?
I'm just thinking maybe they can stop the parade and just have the event at the restaurant. That might be one option. That, like, we're spending a lot of time on a $300 grant here, and I know it's more than that, but let's put a provisional $300 with an asterisk to be finalized by that council would approve their plans going forward.
I'm not sure how we do. Yes.
I still think if we'd say $500 and we look into it and see how we can make this work through maybe the Matchadash Hall, that's what it is, then we can come back to it and say, to the people who want to organize it, this is how you do it. That way it's not gone. And that way might be able to cover any insurance that we need to worry about or liability.
Member Minnings first.
Thank you. I think that because this is a historic amount and a historic grant, and just because we're having this discussion for the first time now, it does ring very, very similar to the discussion last year in Cumberland Beach, where I didn't know about a road permit and road insurance, even though the parade was widely recognized and advertised the first few years. I think that this $300 is that they want to spend it on same as last year, which is on gifts for kids and food. I think that that's what the $300 I would approve the use for, with a caveat on the approval that it can't spill out into the road in any other way unless it's called a parade and then follows whatever those requirements are for a parade. But nowhere does it say parade except in the discussions here. So without this discussion based on the application, I had no knowledge of it. And it's always this background knowledge or personal knowledge that individuals have that changes the course. But based on what they've approved, as long as that's what they spend the money on, I have no problem with not approving it at this time, and I think we should.
Mayor,
Thank you. Through the chair, why don't we do what Member Cox is saying? Let's leave $500 and I'm going to speak to the county when I'm down to see what it costs to have her, if they want to move forward with a parade, if that's okay with Member Taylor, to see what insurance would cost.
But the question, the county, they only use the one side of that, like they don't close the road.
I realize
Correct?
that.
They only
but
go along the one
But they
side.
need to be aware what's.
Like this is, yeah, I tend to agree with Member Minning said that the application is for food and games for the kids at the restaurant. And that's what's for, is that they don't mention the parade. If they do a parade, that's on their own. Like we're not paying for the parade in this thing. We're paying for food and things for the kids and the people that attend the thing.
so, yeah, member,
Supplementary, Madam CEO has stated that they are using our road though to bring those floats around. That's when it creates a liability.
Well, don't forget if I can jump in, the regatta every year. It's, that's, you've attended that. They don't close the road. Like it's a small, very small community with a loop road, as you know, and like where does Big Brother stop and start? And am I see where I'm going with the regatta in July? Like,
yes.
I think, and I understand what you're saying, but on the same token, Madam CEO is here to protect us and protect the municipality should something happen. That's where I struggle now.
Yeah. Member Minnings, please.
Thank you. And I would just again want council to deal with the application and the grant that's at hand and not anything else that we're bringing forward anecdotally. That it's really clear what the money's to be used for. And that I think is incumbent on us to approve. So again, we can't read more into what's written there, and we can refer back or let them know that what they've asked for is approved. It does not say parade, does not mention roadways, etc. It's for a restaurant, and I've been there. I've seen the big parking lot they have, and I don't have a concern with the grant application as presented. And I think that this is something that does creep up from time to time, where we have so much inside knowledge about places and people and things that it really would disadvantage the application that's been put forward by this restaurant.
All right, I'm going to take, member Cox. And
Okay. If we give them the $300, then we send them a letter and tell them that if they want a parade, they have to do their own thing, and I will not be, like, we can't participate because it's a liability. So I think we need to let them know that if they want to just do what Counselor Taylor said, have a Christmas event with Mr. and Mrs. Santa at the restaurant, God bless them. But the parade is not a possibility anymore due to liability, because now we all know. If
So-
we didn't know, it'd be different.
All right, so I'm gonna, first of all, I'll throw my 2 cents in. I'm still not concerned that we have dealt effectively with liability and precedent. And as such, I certainly won't support this application. I do like the idea of trying to resolve this outside of this forum. Obviously, this is a well-intentioned thing, but that doesn't get us off the liability ticket. So I'm going to ask for 2 votes here. One is, well, I'll probably only need 1. So if we're going to put this forward, then I'll need to know who's in favor of it. The other option will be to, I think, defer it with the other mitigating efforts in play. So I'll take one more comment, and then I'm going to
No,
call for a vote.
I'm going to put it to the vote. I support $300.
So we have 1 in favor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So it passes.
And I would add to that, what we had said is that when the letter goes back, that it's clearly that they're not entitled to use this money for parades. And that we can even let them know, or perhaps Member Taylor will let them know that there is a process for parades. And going forward, they may want to apply for a parade, and I think that would be awesome. But this is not for a parade. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Moving on. Where are we at here? Severn Seniors Association. First, I'm not sure, this is a new application for 1,500. What page are we?
Page 188.
And Member Cox.
Okay. I see that this is interesting. It is. I've never heard of the group, sorry. And I'm not sure how many people belong to it. And we do have some ideas on the cost of things that will be spent. But most of the things that are talked about here are easily done without $1,500. You can go out and you might need money for a rental for the halls, which is $10 an hour. I get that, but I think that it says here that this is a group startup purpose. So if you're going to start up a group, you need to get out there and advertise and make sure, and then come back next year with what you want. And right now I don't see that. And it's not that I'm against it. I just think that these are the this type of group thing. When Washago had theirs, seniors, which I think this is based on, they all just got together on their own, decided that they wanted to have a group, started to get it organized, and maybe somewhere along the line, they applied for grants, but I don't think they did, because in Coldwater, we never had a grant program. So I believe that possibly we could waive a rental fee for their meeting to their startup or something at the 2 community centers, a meeting each. But other than that, I think we need to wait until the group is formed and we know what's really going on. Thank you.
Thank you. Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair. And yeah, I think it's great that there's a Severn seniors group, but where do you plan to hold the meetings? And again, how many people are there? And my last question is, can a member of council apply for a grant? Is that a pecuniary interest? Or can they do that? And I'm curious.
I think the member declared a pecuniary interest and
Oh.
he has left the.
So we can't
screen.
even ask her questions on it.
No, you can't. I've not seen a member of council in my time with grants apply particularly normally if council wants to do some sort of program, they bring it to the table and council does it as a whole. So it's a bit unusual to do a one-off, but that's up to council to decide whether that's okay with you or not. It's not
Supplementary, if I
prohibited.
may, like, it doesn't say where they're planning to hold us, and to Member Cox's comments, you know, we could give money to forgive the use of the Washago Community Center or the Lake St. George Community Center, but it doesn't state in here how many members are named.
Member Taylor.
Yeah, I'm just, I like the idea, like to look after our group seniors, and there's something else coming up later on about, and it's mentioned seniors in Coldwater and Washago. So maybe not this one, but coming up. I know it's in a different section there that we can acknowledge that there, I think there's a need to get seniors and see that's from both sides of the township. I think it's pretty good. So like, where can we start this thing to make it advance is what I'm saying.
Member Cox.
I'm gathering when I look at this application and I looked at the other application, until you get this part done and get your seniors together, you don't really can't do the other part. You see where I'm going? So I understand getting a seniors group together. I think it's fantastic, but I think that's something that you get the volunteer group out there, like get hold of the Lions Club in Coldwater, get hold of the counselor in the different wards and see what groups there are and get that organized, and then come back next year and say, look, we've got it started. I know that they had a euchre party at the Washago Community Center. So if they start doing those types of things, they can start fundraising a little bit of money. And that's how senior groups start. And then once they get going, then it's up to the seniors who are in the group to decide what functions they think they would like to do. It's like any other group. Sorry, but I'm not against anything. I just think we're putting the cart before the horse.
Thank you. Member McIntyre.
And through the chair, this is a tough one. I'd be in favor of you giving them a few dollars for seed money to get tea and coffee cookies together, and wherever they do that, probably the church in West Shore. 1,500 is a stretch for me to start up. And I agree to some degree with Deputy Mayor that they have to strike out pretty much on their own. But if we gave them coffee money to see what the trend was, or looking at it from a different view, 500, 300. I wouldn't be opposed to that. It's not a great deal of money, but I'm a bit opposed to the 1,500 for a startup. I think that's a bit strong.
May I ask, what number do you have in mind? As what is the number that you could live with?
Well, I'm maybe suggesting 350 at the, at the tops, and that would give them an opportunity to, start off saying, hey, you're welcome to come. We're going to provide coffee and cookies and so on, Rice Krispies and stuff. So then I think anybody who's a senior who gets an opportunity to get together with other seniors and have coffee, I wouldn't want to be one to go in and have to pay $10 for a coffee and a donut.
Thank you. Member Cox.
I could go with 250 or 300, and that's for them to continue on with these euchre tournaments, because that will draw the people. They will get together and then they can make up their mind where they want to go. So I can go with 300.
All right. So we're splitting the difference then?
Supplementary. Yeah, I think that the $300 seed money would be, and then, we have next year to think of too. So if they've got a strong group at the end of this year, we go to next year, maybe they'll show that they have a need for more next year. But at the moment, I think 300 seed money would be a pretty good idea.
Do we have further comments? I'm going to ask if there is support. Yes, Member Jensen.
Thank you. I'm not too sure about this one. Having read it, again, I don't know if there's a committee that's formed that's doing this work, or if it's just the one member of council. I think it's a great initiative, and maybe we could say $300 worth of rental space or rental offset to allow this to begin to start to flourish. And I think it's a great initiative, and that might be enough to get it kickstarted with the booking space in either the Coldwater Community Center or Washago, or even the Match Dash Hall.
Yep.
But something like that, I think, would give it a boost and allow us to see next year whether or not it took off and be able to support it properly from there.
Thank you. So 300 seems to be the number we're settling on. 1, 2, 3. 300 is. Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, you didn't get consensus on, is it cash or is it rental offsets? That's different.
I had in mind that we would do it cash, and I mean,
Simpler.
it's just simpler with cash depending on what decisions they make, right?
Yeah.
$300 cash.
Yeah.
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 And they can use for that. You're okay? I don't know if I can call Wanda back in here.
Rest of them.
And just before we move further to the clerk, we're going to need to take a break at some point soon.
If I could suggest we get to the program grants, and then before we start event grants, we'll take a bio break.
That sounds
There's only
good.
a couple of these left, so.
Very good. Calling all Wandas. Here we go. She's back. Welcome back, Wanda. Sparrow Lake Historical Society is asking for 150. They've previously been approved for 150. And
It's not my ward, but I'm going to say yes.
I fully agree. That's a pretty humble request for a great cause. Anyone else? Done. 150. T Lake Property Owners Association is asking for a first-time request of $1,200.
That's page 193.
Yeah, page 193. Yes. Member Minnings.
Thank you. I read through this one, and my question is this not considered a ratepayers group?
And Member Taylor.
Yeah, I'll speak to it. It's the T Lake Cottage Association that have the stock. But to give reference there, since the boat launch at Big Chute was, it's no longer there anymore. Access to the Severn River is limited at best. We have a parking lot at T Lake, and many people from the public use that parking lot, load up their boats, and where they actually maneuver their boat is on the creek between Severn River and T Lake, and this is where the stock is located on lake, on water itself. And I think it's an admirable thing that it's open to everybody to use that. It's public, and I think it does a good purpose. So I would certainly support giving them something towards maintaining the dock there.
Thank you. And Member Cox.
I'm sorry, I can't. First of all, that dock will be beside a boat ramp that is highly dangerous. The county, it's not near the boat ramp.
It's on T Creek, between T Lake and
Sorry.
it's Creek,
Okay.
which is between
Well, I
T
can't
Lake and
anyway
the Severn
because of
River.
okay, I'm moving on to the next part.
There was a dock
Yeah.
where you're saying, but it's gone. It's
But
not-
they're an association. If that's their dock, then they need to look after it.
Member
Through the,
Burkett.
through the chair to member Taylor. Just explain again, where is this dock? Sorry?
It's, if you say you're standing on the bridge on Upper Big Shoot Road, look up towards the lake, it's on your right.
On the new bridge they just did?
Yep.
You won't be able to see it. So it is a private bridge. Or dock, sorry.
It's a dock on water. And there's pictures that he forwarded to there,
So.
even though you can't, but there are pictures.
Supplementary, if I may, to member Taylor. So they can't boat launch there. It's just.
No,
a
no,
dock.
they would launch their boat at the boat launch and then maneuver, and then they could load it up, reconfigure their boat before either going up to T Lake or getting on the Severn River.
I'm sorry, I don't think I can support this one. Can't support, it's a private dock.
Yes, Madam CEO.
Thank you. I was just going to read the exceptions of who's not eligible. So the following are ineligible uses or groups or organizations, local ratepayer associations, if the grant is to be used for the sole benefit of organizations, private members. Now I hear what Councillor Taylor is saying is it's public, but it can't be half public or half private. If it's public, then it needs to be properly insured and maintained. I would suggest if it's their dock, then it's private, and whoever's using it is probably trespassing. But it doesn't fit in, and you'll get requests from all sorts of cottage associations on docks if you support this one.
Member Innings.
Thank you through the chair. That's what I was going to say, what the CEO just did. Then I know at least 3 other groups that aren't gated, that have access to the lake, that would be looking for docks also, or help with maintaining the docks that they have across West Shore. So I don't support this, unfortunately.
Member Taylor.
Just in summary, the president does say it's open to all public to use it.
Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, the fact that we'd have to figure out some insurance on it is problematic for me. I think I'm going to have to go with the flow here, and I wouldn't be supporting this one.
All right. It would seem that a majority are saying no. And unless someone wants to object to that comment, then we will not award this. Victorian Order of Nurses. Previous approval was 904. They are asking for a not unreasonable increase this year. Page 196 and Member Cox.
Can someone, did we not last year waive the rental and that's why it was 904 through the chair to someone?
Thank you. So every year our rental rates go up a little bit. So that's what equates to the change in the request. So it's still just the rental rates for the use
Okay.
of our facilities.
I don't have a problem with this. This is the VON. They do the seniors. They used to do the early childhood. I'm good with it. Thank you.
Yes, Member Taylor.
So is it, we give them money and then they pay us for the rental, or is just, why would it show up here if that were not the case?
Thank you. So this would literally go straight towards the rental costs. So it's a GL transfer within our office to pay for their recreation facility rentals. Anytime someone requests to have recreation fees waived, we still have to move those funds from grants over to recreation so that the revenue show appropriately still under recreation. So these are still the costs of those facilities and the rental things. So it just comes out of grants. So whenever council waives a rental fee, it is still funds coming out of the grants budget.
It's sort of a balance. So anyway, I'm supported. So
Member McIntyre.
I'd support it too. The VON do amazing work, so it's a modest increase. I would support this one.
Oh, I think there's, I don't know what she said. Okay, general support for the Victorian Order of Nurses will proceed with the new request of 1153. The Washago Garden Club previously were approved for 1,400, are requesting the same amount. Member Taylor. Oh, Member McIntyre.
Thank you through the chair. Amazing group. They beautify the downtown area of Washago, particularly on the west side of 169, and they have plans to do more. They have a swan coming out. We'll elaborate on that another time, but at this moment, they do great work, and they're strictly volunteers. I'd support this one 100%.
Do we have any other comments? Seeing none, we will approve the 1,400. Come on down. We have the Simcoe County Bursary Program, if required, and previously approved for 1,000, requesting the same. Does anyone wish to speak to that? Yeah. Member Burkett.
Thank you. Great program. I know that I had to read through the chair, sorry. I read 960 pages of applicants throughout the whole county. It's a great program providing some of our young kids some extra money for university.
All right, Member Cox agrees. I am not seeing any, I'm seeing some thumbs up. Let's do it. 1,000. We're going to take a break until, we might as well go to 10:30, be realistic here. So let's take a 12-minute and we'll be back here to go to the next phase of the grants list. And
What's the bottom, what's the total right now, Allison, on the bottom right?
So right now, out of a $45,000 grants budget, you've allotted $13,923. So out of the total budget of grants of 45,000, right now you've awarded $13,923. And you still have the events to go.
Very good. Okay. We will recommence our meeting here today. And
Chair, may I just kick off?
sorry, Madam CEO?
I just wanted, when council is looking at the grants, to think about the policy. The policy, the idea of grants is that they are, or event grants, is that events are supposed to become self-sustaining. So council is not meant to cover them the entire time. And I think I don't know if I even saw one that followed that format. So World of Witchcraft, $1,000 last year, they want 5,000. Washago Events Committee, they got 2,000 last year, so they should be down to, I don't know, can't do the math, 1,750 or 1,500, I guess, but they want 2,200. West Shore applied in a bulk last year, and now they've separated out their events and are looking for significantly more. So I don't know if that's a failure of your program, if we need to look at the program, or if people are just not getting it, or I'm not sure what it says, but no one is following what your process you set out.
Thank you. Yeah, proceed.
Okay, I will speak on behalf of parades, and I'm not doing it just for the parade I'm involved in. I'm just saying that with insurance rates have gone up with street closures, we're probably looking at $500. And I haven't figured out yet how to fundraise thousands of dollars just for insurance yet, or anybody else to do that. So I'm having, and I told you last year, I have a problem with a parade being an event because you can't charge admission. There's no way you can do that. Whereas if you have an event and you want to make money, you can charge admission, you can charge rental for vendors, you can do all those things and eventually fundraise for it at the event when you have all the people there. A parade, you can't do that. So I think that's something we may have to look at next year to figure out how to fix the difference with it. And I'm not saying anymore because I could be in conflict.
Yes, Member Jansen.
I want to speak a little bit about the same as well. A lot of these events are events where people can come to, they can enjoy for the day, and they bring people into our community. It's tourism and it's economic development. Really, I think there is a place for the township to be supporting events such as this. We don't do our own events. Really, we leave it up to our community groups to host these events so that they bring people to our community to show off the township of Severn. And really not only just bring our community together, but bring people into our community to show just how amazing Severn is.
Yes, Member Taylor.
Yeah, I think basically, maybe the definition, like a parade, isn't a money maker. It's people with volunteering to go into a parade to make it go, and it does cost money, as the deputy mayor said. I know we discussed it, but I think we did a different definition, and how a parade would be exempt from this being reduced each year. I think it's a year by year allocation that we put in there, like heavens, a Canada Day parade. How in the world like it's whatever the costs are to do that. It's a good thing. Canada Day, Christmas, those are my thoughts.
Through the chair, and I concur with Member Taylor. Parades are something that every resident in this township can utilize, and they're beautiful. But the volunteers are the ones that are doing all this. So however we can help, and they don't ask for a lot of money, and it's something that's well attended. All of us have been to either Coldwater or Washago, and now West Shore. They are well attended, and it's for the community to enjoy what we have. So maybe we should separate these out where they don't have to request it, I think
Sorry.
Allison's gonna say something.
Yes,
Just for the sake of
to the clerk.
helping council move this along for today. I mean, review every application, do as you will. However, at the end of it, if council would like us to review the policy, council needs to direct staff to review the policy and bring it back to a future meeting. So we can look at what other municipalities do. If they break parades apart, if we put a new section in for parades, all that type of stuff, we can take the general comments back. But we need that direction from council. We discussed grants last year in general, but there was never any direction to actually review the policy and bring it back. So this year there was a lot of discussion about it, but about wanting to review it, but it was never actually like formal direction given to staff. So this year, if council would like to see that done over the course of next year and staff are pleased to do that, then please direct staff to do that so that we can bring it back in time before grant applications open going into the 2026 budget.
Great. Member Mennings first.
Hi, thanks. And yeah, 100% on what everybody said. And Judith did speak to it November 24th of last year on our same discussion at budget that parades should not be under events. However, I'm not sure that I do believe that a parade is an event, and I would like to see a staff report too on how we can allow some parades to also fundraise. For example, in Washego, we create and sell buttons. There's a button for every year of the parade that I've been here that I pay $2 for. So I just think we need to think more about how we can do both without restricting us and not allowing a parade to make any money, et cetera, or have an event or a festival not have a parade contained within a festival.
Thank you. Just before, so I think it's clear we're at some point here, we want to put forward a motion to have a review of the parade policy. I don't see any of that. Would you like to do that at the end of this exercise or do you?
Direction sufficient. Direction sufficient. I'll note it in the minutes. And staff will bring it back in the new year for
Fair
council
enough.
to look at.
All right. So it's safe to say we would like to see that resolved for this year. And is my understanding that we can proceed here then outside the lines a little bit today? Or no? What is council? Well, council's, I think. Yeah, okay. We'll go one-on-one. Did you still have a question? No. Member Jens?
So like last time, I think we'll work from top to bottom. So the first one is the Coldwater BA Wonderful World of Witchcraft and Wizardry event.
All right. I'm working off page 121. Have you read? So the first entry here is the Coldwater BIA Wonderful World of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And we're in at 1,000 in 24. The request is significantly higher at 5. Do I have?
Page 125.
I was operating off the list of 121. It's the same item. Coldwater BIA, Wonderful World of Witchcraft. And does anyone wish to speak to this? Mr. Taylor, Member Taylor.
This, as to put it mildly, is a well-attended event in Coldwater. So I think we definitely should be supporting it, depending on how high we go to their requests. So at minimum, what we did last year, and I suggest even a bit more. My thoughts.
Member Mennings?
Thank you. This one confused me on, not in that I don't support it, I do support it, but with our criteria of it reducing every year, how are we at $4,000 extra? Or is it something completely different that the money will be used for, but it's based on the event, and I think it's the same event.
Thank you. Yes, CA or to the clerk.
So grant, community groups can apply for, there's no limit on the online form that says you can only apply for this amount. So it's up to council to apply their policy when they're reviewing them. So when the individual groups apply, if the maximum amount is 5,000, then a $5,000 application will be accepted by the online submission form. Because there's no way to track that with an online fillable form year to year. So that becomes part of what is council's job in the review of the grant policy.
Thank you for that clarification.
Well, just subsequent, so then do we need to look at this policy too, so that it doesn't, because the way it reads now, it says it will be reduced by every subsequent year, and you can see from the chart. So I don't necessarily like that rule, but I am wondering if that's another area we need to look at.
Thank you. Yes.
I think if I can through you, Mr. Chair, I think in general, staff are going to take council's direction that we're to basically do a comprehensive review and gut job of the grants policy and bring it back with a fresh lens. So parades, general programs, this piece, the capital, all of it. We'll just treat it as a blank slate and do a comprehensive review of the whole program.
Excellent. Thank you. Member McIntyre.
Thank you through the chair. Clearly, this is a very successful event. And based on that, 1,500 in attendance is it's tremendous for the community. I'm not sure about the 5,000. However, as things get more successful, they're more costly. And based on that, when there's a consensus on the 5,000, I'd like everyone to consider that because it's so successful, $1,000 is peanuts, or $1,500, whatever. And it is a successful event, and it's a big thing for the community to have that. I'd be interested to hear what other members of our group think that that's worth to go forward. Congratulations on the success, and let's conclude where we're going to go.
MCO?
Request.
Yep, just a small wrinkle for council to consider when you're determining amounts. The BIA is different than all of your other items on the routes. They have their own levy and their own ability to levy from their members. No one else does. So I just wanted to throw that out there so you can consider that when you're figuring out your amounts.
Thank you for that. Member Cox?
I totally agree about the event. My concern is on page 127. And this whole accessibility thing, this is not anything that the BIA does. This has to go back to Mr. Rourke, the Public Works Director. It says to support a success of tourism, we plan to create and designate handicap parking within the closed Main Street event area. So we need to have a discussion from Mr. Burke on this one, on how we would do that. I do understand, yes, that this year they're getting, their budget is 33,000. So I could see giving them, I don't know, what do you want to give them? 2?
I would for two.
I mean,
Yes. Member Burkett.
Last year, through you, Mr. Chair, last year they bought television speakers, images and soundtracks, which I'm sure they still have. They didn't throw them away, so it seemed to work out last year. So if 2,000 is the consensus, I'm happy, and I am concerned about this accessibility. And we do have an accessibility committee, and I don't know if there'll be enough time to have them weigh in on what their thoughts are as to how they're going to build this. To Member Cox's August. All right, so we should have enough time. Yeah, I'd be happy to give that as long as in that grant that they do reach out to Mr. Burke to see how we can create, or if we can even create two accessible parking lots there.
Yeah, for my 2 cents, I like the 2,000 figure. I worry about the precedent for all parades with these kinds of increases. Like, how do you say no then? Particularly if PIA already has some funding source. Who's in favor of 2? 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. Thank you, Member Minnings. It's 2. Coldwater Steampunk and Oddity Days. Up front, 5,000.
That's page 128 if anybody.
Thank you. Member Cox.
Okay. This is a new group, a new whole thing. And again, I don't know a lot about it. I have, they do have a budget in here and they do have things, but I need to, through the chair, to either Madam Clerk or Madam CAO. They are asking for funding from other levels of government. Does that make a difference when they're asking for funding from us?
No, we used to have a section in our policy that meant that if you applied for other funding levels that you were excluded from our grants, but we pulled that with the last update.
I'm having trouble with this one. I don't know. A lot of other people speak to it.
Yes, Member Jensen.
I'd like to speak in support of this event. Not gonna say I 100% support the amount that's being requested. I think that's up for discussion. The Steampunk Festival in Coldwater was a signature event within the community for, I believe it was 13 years. It drew upwards to 10,000 people to our community to come enjoy Coldwater, visit the local shops. When we talk economic development, this is the type of event that brings people to the community to spend their money. I think it's great that one of our local citizens has taken the event off the shelf and is trying to reinvigorate it. I know it was run by another member of the community, and thank you to her for the many years that she put towards organizing it. We have a new person now, and from what I understand, he's struck a committee. He's getting community involvement. He's come to the other community groups within the community to ask them for support, and he's getting support from them. It's not just that he's asking Severn Township. He's really trying to organize the community around this event to make it as successful as possible. You know, I think we got to take a chance on this event. If it goes well, it will become a signature event in our community moving forward for years to come. Thank you.
Member Cox.
When we supported Steampunk, and I think they only asked us 3 times, we gave a certain amount of money, but 3,000, and we did not give it to them. They had to supply receipts to us to show how they spent the money. So I can live with that one because I think that's only fair. And I would really be I would need to ask a question through the chair to Member Taylor. Is the mill involved with this?
No, we're not.
And I don't think the museum is. So
Not officially.
$2,500 and they have to send the receipts. I don't know how you want to work it, but that's what we did last time to ensure that it went to what they wanted to go to. That's what we made Susie do.
Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, strong support from the ward area councillor, and I think that based on his comments, we should support it. Along with the deputy mayor's comments about half, I would support half. Councillor Jansen is pretty strong on this one, and he has an opinion that it would be a huge benefit to his community. So I'll agree.
Member Minnings.
Hi, thank you. Yeah, I would support it, but I would support it to the tune of 2,000, like the other event just before it, the witchcraft and wizardry event. And I'm still not clear on why we would be treating it differently as Deputy Member Cox suggested around receipts, etc., because that's already in our policy. So I'm wondering
It was,
if
yes.
there is something else I don't know about this event, but I would say that we have lots of events in Coldwater. It's great to have a community that size in the township, and it is a huge draw. So I do support it, but again, it would be around the same as the other group.
Yeah, through the chair, I further to what member McIntyre, our ward councillor has seen it firsthand, is in his ward. I've seen it as well. And I'm hoping if it does progress that the mill will be involved, and I'm sure it would be, and I'm sure the BIA as well. And the Canadiana. Thank you.
And yeah, it's an encouraging event for sure, but I still think the 2,000 is more reasonable. And no more questions from committee members? Yeah, we're talking 2,000. I was just going to verify. I think 2,000 is the number that we generally agree on. Thank you all. Moving on to Severn Seniors Association Shine Bright 2 events. First time request for 5,000. And
Page 136.
Page 137, 36?
136 and 137.
136. Give us a second.
Through the chair, I'm sorry, I can't support this at all. Like, it's a great initiative. We still don't know where the seniors are coming from, and knowing what happened in the past at the Washego Community Center, we had a membership there of 400 seniors. How many?
7.
Oh, well, 700. They raised the price, I think 50 cents or a dollar, and it disbanded. So, I'm a senior as well. I'm happy to pay to,
No.
yeah, if they want the hall rental, as something to entice everyone to have a party, I'm happy to support that. But it's a great thought, but we can't pay for what's written in here.
Thank you. Member Taylor.
Well, this one does state Washego and Coldwater. So once again, I'm in the same criteria as you, maybe a bit older, but I think it's a great initiative of trying to get the seniors in the community. So let's start somewhere, and maybe this could be the start.
Member Cox.
But this is dependent on the first one we dealt with to get an organization going. So until you have an organization going, you don't have both ends of the community involved. So you could throw a dance here and over there and one here, but you don't have it organized to do it. That's just what my concern.
I'm leaning towards that, and I would like to see some more clarity on how all of this would work before we make a big commitment on this type of thing. That's my point. Yes. Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair. I'd like to see the group come to us. I'd like to see a group that says, listen, we've got 100 seniors. This is what we're going to do this year. Is there any way council can support us in whatever we can do, rather than, it's great that the member, our colleague has brought this forward. It's a great initiative, but I think there's a lot more work that needs to be done before we start handing out money. But I got to know where this group is.
Thank you. And Member Cox.
Yeah, and that's why we gave the seed money to get this started, so the seniors could come to us and tell us what they'd like.
If there are no further comments, I'm sensing here a majority to saying no, and a suggestion that they come to council and get the ball rolling next year. Is that a general perspective? All right. So not granted. The Aurelia Fairgrounds Farmers Market Feet on the Ground.
This is page 133.
And I have not had any direct dealings with this group in the past. I know they operate off the Aurelia or the Otis Park Fairgrounds, but I have no knowledge what Feet on the Ground is. If someone here knows what that is, I'd love to know. Member Cox.
No idea what it is either. There's no financial expenditures that are tell you what they're going to do. It just says promotion new events. It also is an organization that raises money, and it may be non-for-profit. I don't know anything about it. So I'm a no. No.
Yeah, you have a card up? Yes. Member Mennings.
Yes, I was curious too, and I Googled them. I looked on the website for ODAS, et cetera. I cannot find any information on this group, so I would decline it based on what was submitted.
Thank you. Yeah, so I think it's pretty clear that we're going to decline it. It might be worth somehow explaining, giving them a bit of a clinic on how to submit an application in future, because it's really hard to get anything out of that one. And our next item is Otis Park, the Aurelia Fall Fair. And
Page 131.
page 131, the request, a first-time request of 5,000. And Member Cox.
This is for the fall fair. We give the Coldwater Fall Fair $500. So I'll say $500 for the Aurelia Fall Fair.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. There are other issues related to the Otis Park support that I think under a new format we can take care of in the course of the new year, just related to this. And that's why I'm not uncomfortable with the 500 at all. Number one, as we have recently approved an ongoing forgiveness of fees for pumper truck for exactly the same activity. Both of those farm organizations, Coldwater and the Aurelia one do. I will be working with staff and council to see if we can get the exact same remuneration for the exact same reason. There's also other benefits that acquire to the Coldwater group. For instance, the grading for the tractor and truck pulls, and we have issues around that. No, but I'm just saying that as part of the rationale for this level, that I think there are, again, under a different format, we can deal with those things at another time in the future. And Member Cox.
They used to apply and they stopped.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not suggesting that they, but I'm just suggesting there's probably an easier way to deal with this, and we will deal with it later. Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, I have a simple question. Is the attendance at both of these events similar? Is it much more people at Coldwater than there is at this ODAS?
Yeah, this year was a huge one for Otis Park because they brought in a
Demo.
fairground there.
Mhm.
It was a pretty massive event. I don't know the comparative numbers at this time for this year.
Anybody else?
Coldwater was over 18,000.
And I can bring it to council at some, I mean, we're talking 500 here today, so it's not that big a deal.
Yeah.
I will get you the numbers for that other one. It was in the thought, it was huge this year. It was a massive event. And it's amazing what a Midway will do for you. And a car wrecking derby. Yes, absolutely correct. In good weather. Good point, Counselor. So 500. Next on the board,
142.
Washago Lions Canada Day, 4th year, and Oktoberfest, 2nd year. They were at the 75, and they are requesting 1,800, which is not a 50%er, but the request is 1,800. And member Cox requests to speak.
Through the chair, this event that the Lions Club does on Canada Day is a very successful event for them. Last year, we ran into issues. And we met with Mr. Burke, and we met with the Lions Club, the Washago Events Committee did. The Hamilton Street cannot be closed for 24 hours. It can't be closed for 12 hours. And we clearly have sat with the two members from the Lions Club and Derek and member McIntyre and I, and we said, we will need to work together to figure out how to continue to have the Lions do what they do and the event committee do the parade, but we need to sit together. There could be the fact it could go back down to the communities, down to the park. It could be at the community center on the ice surface or in the parking lot, but I can't tell you how we're going to work together, but we have to work together. And I believe that is a contingency on this amount. We need to work together in this community to have the room and the space and to make the event work really well. And so I don't have a problem giving them money. And and Member McIntyre and I will go forward with them in the spring. So we work together to have a really safe, good event.
Member McIntyre.
Through the chair, just to expand on that, what Judith has said. I have a phone call and some dialogue with the Lions Club. We have to deal with this today and this amount today, but they're prepared to work with the Washago Events Committee and possibly use the lane between Hamilton Street and 169 and have it all there. They're talking about we need a bigger facility than our Lions Hall. It's a huge event for us. So we got to get into that. And I'm just trying to inform the group here that they're ready to talk and we're ready to talk as an events committee. So just enlighten you all. So this is something that I'm not sure that even I should be maybe stepping out on this one in terms of asking for, it's Lions, so I'm not a Lion. So
Yeah. Oh, thank
maybe
you.
not.
I'm okay
Member
with
Mennings.
Thank you. This is one that I'm having trouble with because I attended the Canada Day Parade last year with 8 members of my family, and it was very tight there. And the Lions, because there were so many activities in our own community hall and the bouncy castle by the rink and all kinds of things going on, the days spilled over into lunch and snacks and food, etc. And to get a hot dog or to line up for a hamburger, which the Lions were selling, it's not a family-friendly event that they held. There was a big gate. Those of us going through on behalf of my family to purchase some pop and some hot dogs and hamburgers each had to pay $10 just to go through the gate because it's licensed. And I think that, if they opened up or at least separated out some of their food so that everybody could participate in that and make it a full day or a longer day period than just the parade. The other observation that we had was that Washago has that beautiful waterfront park across the road. And I know that there's been discussion at the Washago Events Committee about you know, how busy Highway 169 is and to cross over on parade day, et cetera. But wouldn't it be great if there was a way that people could spill over there and then we're not restricted by room? So just a couple things. I would like to see the Lions event opened up, at least a portion of it, so that families could support them, purchase stuff, food and drinks. But the way it stands now, I would not support this in full going forward.
Thank you. Member Cox?
It's okay now because we have lights, so we can cross the highway and we'll have a sidewalk too. So that'll be great. As far as what the Lions Club does, that's their business. We give them the money and they run it because they are trying to fundraise. And that's what we've been trying to tell groups to do, is to fundraise. So we can't, I don't think I can tell them what to do. They get their money and they fundraise, and this helps them give money out to the community and to community members and support the community.
Yeah. Member McIntyre.
Just to add to that, we are going to open it up for a better operational event after the Winter Canada or Santa Claus Parade. So next year, I'm optimistic, very optimistic, and I think Member Cox is optimistic that tight venue that we operated on for the last 3 or 4 years is going to be wide open and more space, and understand that the Lions Club have their Leader Dog program and other charities, and that's how they make their money. And we're happy to, as an events committee, to work with them. So just adding a little context, Member Minnings, to what your comments.
And if I may, we're going to make a decision. But I also was at that parade last year. There's a great little Chinese food restaurant there. And for me, the only disappointment was I didn't win the draw. So I do support this. Are we at 1,800? I know there's no, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes. 1,800 is the figure. Thank you all. Back to Washago events and the Canada Day Parade.
If you need to know, it's on page 139.
And the request is for 200 more than was granted last year.
What number is it?
Page 139.
Page 139. Member Burkett, we're talking about where were we at here? Oh yeah, the Canada Day Parade and Santa Claus Parade. Yes. Member Taylor.
I've attended the Canada Day Parade and it's well attended. I would support last year's number 2,000. The only question I've got is that just the overlap with Washago Lions and there's these two groups, but I think the overall, it adds up to we're paying equal there as we do in Coldwater. So I'm happy with 2,000, just my idea going forward.
Thank you.
Member Burkett. Yes.
I'm happy to support that as well.
That's the 2,000 figure?
Yes, please.
$2,000 is the number the committee is putting forward. All right.
Could I jump in?
By all means.
To save going back and forth, we go to the bottom 2 items. Oh, that's even good. We can check that off then.
There you go. That was very effective, Mark. All right. We are now moving on to the West Shore Events Committee, Community Ball Hockey. And it is
Starts on page 145.
first time request for $1,200.
I think the CAO would like to make a comment, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Madam CEO.
Just wanted to make a suggestion to maybe make it quicker for members of council. Last year, they bundled all their events up and you gave them $3,000. This year, they've got for specific events and they're looking for 6,700. I don't know if you want to be picking between their events because they should do that. Maybe you pick an amount that you're willing to come to and they determine which events they would like to put it towards.
That is, I think, a very productive suggestion. I'm seeing nods across the board here. All right. So the request is for 6,700. Previous requests were 3,000. Do we have? Yes.
Through the chair, let's give them the same as last year, 3,000.
Okay.
That's 2 yeses there. Any other comments? 3, 4. 3,000 is the number. We are done. That one. Sorry. 1,000 the CAO for saving us all that time.
That would be, how much did we get for Shaker Lions?
Yes.
Mr. Plunkett, do we need to discuss anything else at this point?
The clerk is just gonna get, yeah, she's just gonna give us a total, where we're at with grants. I don't believe we've hit the 45,000, so we do have a contingency amount. Should you need to, grant more funds during the year. And
I think we're good.
If I can, Mr. Chair, I would suggest you leave a contingency. We get grant requests through the year as well. I mean, council dealt with one as recently as Wednesday.
Yes.
So, and there were a couple last month or so as well. So, I would suggest you keep yourself at contingencies. You can deal with those as the year goes along, as you normally do.
Yeah, I think that's a great suggestion. I'm seeing, I think, yes, Member Taylor.
My eyesight's not that great. So just what's the grand total and what's the
So your grand total of grants awarded as of today will be $25,223. I'd like the treasurer to do the quick mental math as to what that comes to for
that's just shy of 20,000 actually.
at least your contingency of about 20,000.
Okay, good. I'm
Which
happy
is
with
similar to what you ended up with last year as a contingency.
That's actually kind of nice.
Good job.
Gives us a year to deal with changes as they come along. All right.
So if I can, Mr. Chair,
The final version of the grants awarded in the list will go in your updated final budget binders.
if I can, Mr. Chair.
Yes, proceed.
We'll pull up the PowerPoint, again. We've factored in the, some of the changes that, we spoke about yesterday. And then we'll, further the discussion on what tax rate you want us to end up at. So just, we'll remember the starting point. For municipal operations, we needed, just shy of 1.9 million. We are suggesting that we draw 200,000 from the taxation reserve again this year. So that'll actually bring that reserve down to 0, but we can use surplus funds to put money back in there. It does leave us at a starting point though. If we utilize that 200,000, you will be looking for that 200,000 next year, just from the very beginning. So, but just want to make you aware of that. Questions?
Okay. Is it better to,
Sure, take them as we go.
okay, Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair to Andrew. So the 200,000 if council approve or committee approves this today, we still have 300,000 from the year before. Is that correct? So we're at 500,000. No? Okay.
So I'll let you know exactly how that works. So we used 300,000 last year, so it was a $300,000 impact on the levy. If we use 200,000 this year from the reserve, we'll have recovered 100,000 of that 300,000. So we'll only need to recover the additional 200,000 either in the next budget or one of the following budgets.
Perfect. Thank you.
Similar? You're satisfied? All right.
So,
No.
so based on the discussions, in the CAO looked at the positions, so currently we've removed the development engineering coordinator and the GIS technician. Certainly kept in the IT managed services and the HR coordinator. We had reduced the economic development grants by 2,000. So that brings us down to, the funds that we need for municipal operations at 1.4, just a little over 1.4 million. And you'll notice it says that would move the blended rate from 7.72 to 6.36. So I will point out that in your original slides, it said 7.84. We were using 4% from the county for that purpose. So the 3.625 actually brought that 7.84 down to 7.72. So I just wanted to make everybody aware of that.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair to Andrew. So if council or committee is in favor of this at 5.95, how does that impact a home that has an assessed value of 340,000?
Oh, it's a good question. I think off the top of my head, it brought us down about $33 yesterday. But I'll have to,
Well, you can.
oh, actually, if you give me 1 second, I'll pull it up on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah, Member Taylor.
Just had a question, Andrew. With the Players Bridge and Twin Oaks, that was going to come out of the levy, 180,000. Was that pulled out of, how did you do that?
So if I can, through to Member Taylor, we currently fund 1.1, just a little under 1.2 million from the levy for roads capital. So even though we're moving those projects so that they'll be funded from reserves, I would suggest we don't want to lose what we're already funding, because that's a current service level. So I would just fund different projects out of the levy for the difference.
Okay, because I thought that's 180 off the tax levy.
So if
But, I left the two bean counters
Fair
after
enough.
that one. for me.
if we remove that 180, then we're effectively lowering existing surplus levels, if that makes any sense to you. So we currently draw every year just under 1.2 million from the levy for roads projects. If you remove those two projects, we drop that down to 1 million, which means I'd be looking for that $200,000 next year.
Well,
right.
can I, maybe I'll, through the chair, ask the CEO what her version of that would be.
Yeah, through the chair, I agree with Andrew. I just was going to try and simplify it a little bit. You can save by moving those projects from tax base to levy. We're recommending that you do not, because it just makes you shorter next year. So you can do it. That it's certainly a council decision to make, but from a finance side, we wouldn't recommend it, because you're always looking for more roads to be done and you need that tax dollars to do the roads. So if you cut it back this year, then that's your starting point next year, instead of the 1.2 where you're starting for the last few years.
Thank you. Member Cox.
So it says other staff will find an additional $124,700. Can you find 130?
We can ultimately find what you want. The 124,700 will get you to a 5.95%. That is why that's why the 124,000.
It has.
We haven't found it yet, but we will go to effectively each department and look for concessions to get us down to that level, if that's where council wants us to get to.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair. So just one more time, Andrew, the OPP is what percentage on our levy of this 5.95?
Sorry, can you just rephrase it? Make sure I understand. You want the increase or the total cost?
No, what the OPP charges, the increase that we had $490,000 increase. How does that?
So that itself just comes in at just shy of a 2% increase.
Okay, 2%. Okay.
Member Cox.
Asset management? Sorry, asset management, what does it come in at?
So the asset management currently in there is 300,000, and that is rough, that's just shy of 1%.
Okay. Supplementary, sorry.
Yep.
So did you come up with the cost on a house?
Yes. So the additional cost, or so the increase in the taxation bill on the average house in Severn for 2025 would be $188. So so it was 248, now down to 188.
Divided by 4.
And the county is $10.86.
Oh, but that's all blended.
That's the
That's all blended in,
That's the
yeah.
blended total.
I know, but I'm just saying they will pull that out and say that. Thank you.
So may I ask for clarification in your search for 124,000? Yesterday, when we were talking about the water tower in Washago, that was left in, right?
It is also levy funded, or sorry, it was also.
That was levy?
No, sorry, it says reserve funded, so it doesn't impact the levy.
Thank you. And yes, member Minnings.
Thank you through the chair. I still think that this percentage is high. And I think that we may be able, like yesterday, we talked a little bit about some other line items that affect the levy. And one of them was the cost of living increase at 3%. And I'm wondering if I would put forward that we reduce that and not pay out the full 3% this year. I understand that staff have enjoyed a cost of living of the 3% historically, but they are many still on a pay rate system that annually gets them to that next increment that's separate and apart or over and above the cost of living. And we're asking our residents to pay a little bit more. And I'm wondering if a reduced cost of living to maybe instead of 3% to 2% for this year would help us get that tax levy amount down.
Member Burkett.
Thank you through the chair. I am not in favor, and Andrew, I think I asked that question yesterday. Even if we reduced it by 1%, it doesn't really make a large impact on our levy. But can I just ask a question? Would you know off the top of your head what the feds in the province cost of living are for their employees? Do you have any idea?
I do not, Mr. Mayor, at this point.
I'm going to Google it.
And well, I'll speak at this point. I am not in favor of reduction of the 3% at all. Member Cox.
5.95% doesn't sound like it's low enough, but in the way we're dealing and the times we're dealing in and the cost of living, not just the cost of living, everything has gone up. We are living in a time when it's tough for everybody, and I understand that, but we have to still function and we have to provide services. And it's not an easy job to turn around and say, we need another $188, but everybody tries to live back in their own means. And I know lots of people who used to go out for dinner 4 times a week. Now they are like, they only go one. People who don't do this and don't do that, you know, like we have inflation. There's so many things. And I have read other municipalities, the articles in the paper. And if we don't do this to keep up this year, it's going to come back to haunt us next year, and it will haunt us the year after. We're already behind in our staffing that we may need. And so that's just going to bump everything. And it's not just staffing, it's everything. And we all want our roads to be better. We all have projects that we want to see. And they all cost money, and they cost 3 times and 4 times as much as they did 4 years ago. And there used to always be a light at the end of the tunnel. And I don't see a light for a while. I'm going to tell you, this is the toughest budget I've had to think about for a long time. And it's a tough one, but we have to still survive. And we have to ensure that we leave this township in financial and fiscal stability for the next council and for a future. Because you start lowering and going down. I've been there and I've watched zeros and I've watched ones, and it comes back and it bites you. You have to keep up.
Well, thank you. But subsequent to that, I would agree it is a tough year and it is a tough budget. However, I sit on council representing the constituents, not the employees. We had a salary review. Salaries were raised already in the course of my less than 2 years on budget. I'm not taking money away from employees at all. In fact, I'm saying they should get a reduced cost of living, and it's not disadvantaging them. But we need to also be fair to the people that we represent. So staff would be getting a cost of living. It's not that they wouldn't. And that 1% or it whatever could actually purchase that extra position or two that we put aside and said we couldn't fund. So I'm sorry, but this is the talk about what other townships are doing and going out for dinner. That's not the world that I live in, and I would still like to see that brought forward. It's not a negative. It's not a negative. It's still an increase.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I want to point out that everyone at this table is working in the best interest of the citizens of Severn Township, and that includes our employees. I have 3 orders of questions here. Member Taylor, Member Burkett. Would you, or so you feel the value in going first? Okay, if you'll be fine with that.
Member Minnings, I wasn't talking about COLA. I was talking about the whole budget. Thank you.
Thank you. And Member Taylor?
Yeah, through the chair, just a comment. I've been on council where we have done zero increases, and it looks great short term, but we did pay for that. We've caught up. We've done comparative salaries across the county, et cetera. But based on Andrew used a number here on one of the slides, the inflation in CPI is 2.65. So I know he's put a 3% cost of living, but just in transparency and rationale, make it 2.65. Even though it sounds minuscule, but it's transparent. Where do we get 3% from? Well, I'm getting 2.65 from Andrew's page. Just I'll open it to that. Those are my thoughts.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Member Burkett.
Through the chair, I'm looking at it says 3.2. And of course, this has been a real tough budget. We have to remember that OPP costs come in at 2%. The asset management comes in at 1%. That leaves us with 2.9%, 2.95, which is unbelievable for a township of our size in the amount of money that we've had to spend in years past. And as far as our staff, they deserve that 3%. Without our staff, we sitting here at this table would be nothing. I'm sorry. Without them to guide us and provide the services to our residents, which they do, they deserve that. And I'm looking at the province and the feds, and I don't know where Andrew got 2.65, but it says here on my phone 3.2%. So any employee that is working for the province or the feds is going to get that increase. Or maybe I'm wrong. Yes.
Sorry, if I can, through to the chair.
Mr. Plukin, yeah.
I do realize it's at 2.65%, and that's likely, I'm gonna guess that's the second quarter of the year, so it can change a bit. We did actually bring in less than inflation last year because we thought that would be too big of an increase as well. I believe the increase last year was more than 4%, but we still only went with a 3%. Just to give a comparison. So one of the reasons we brought in 3 this year was to make up some of the difference from last year.
Member Cox.
So what's the difference between 3 and 2.6?
That's roughly, so it's just works out to roughly about $30,000. So that roughly works into about 0.1%.
Yeah. All right. Member Burkett.
I don't know if other members of council will want to speak, but I'm happy with the 5.95, and if we want to vote on it, I'm happy to vote on it.
All right, let's call for a vote.
May we have a recorded vote, please?
Through the chair, are we voting on 3% or the overall budget?
Overall, the overall budget is what, member Burkett called for. That does include the 3%. And member McIntyre,
I'll kick it off since it was my idea for the 5.95. I'm in favor of it.
I'm in favor.
Just point of clarification. If a recorded vote was called for, wouldn't we be following a different process?
Thank you. There should be a motion, I believe, Chair.
Go for it.
Thank you. And actually, before we get to adopting the budget, we need to pass the grants. We kind of leapt ahead before we got to the grants with the summary sheet. So if I can actually back council up for a quick motion on grants, that would be lovely. And then we'll proceed forward with the other.
Do we have a mover?
So I'll just read it out for you first, Mr. Chair. So the motion on the grants is that the 2025 administration and economic development grants be approved as discussed, and that any items for which a conflict has been declared or deemed not to have been voted on or discussed by the individual making the decision. So
A mover. Moved by member Burkett, seconded by member Cox. All in favor? All right, next motion.
okay, so the next motion then is that the 2025 budget be approved with a 5.95 blended tax increase.
Do we have a mover? Member McIntyre, seconded by member Burkett. All in favor? Oh,
It's
what's
a
a group?
recorded vote.
Yes.
Thank you very much. So recorded vote requested by, I believe it was member Minnings. Member Minnings for or against.
Against.
Okay, member Cox for or against.
4.
Okay, member Burkett for or against.
4.
Member McIntyre for or against.
4.
Member Taylor for or against.
Against.
Member Jansen for or against.
4.
Member Brennan for or against.
4.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Just getting down to the bottom of the agenda then, there is no business, new business that I'm aware of. And we can call for a motion to adjourn. Yeah. Oh. Yes.
Thank you,
Member
through the
Burkett.
chair. I just want to thank all the members of the committee. Job well done. I know it was a tough budget, but I want to reach out to our staff and thank you so much for all the hard work. But you, Andrew, I know that you were the one that took the brunt of it. So thank you very much for all that you've done. Great budget.
Yeah, I would like to express gratitude as well for all the help I got from everyone sitting there and other members of the staff in helping me, work through this thing. So thank you very much. Well done as well. And so there are motion to adjourn. Member Burkett, seconded by member McIntyre. All in favor? Have a good weekend and
Safe flight home.